One of the greatest jobs of marketing that the universe has ever seen is Nike.
Remember, Nike sells a commodity. They sell shoes. And yet, when you think of Nike, you feel something different than a shoe company. In their ads, as you know, they don't ever talk about the product. They don't ever tell you about their air soles and why they're better than Reebok's air soles. What does Nike do in their advertising? They honor great athletes, and they honor great athletics. That's who they are. That's what they are about.
We have a mission statement that says to bring innovation and inspiration to every athlete in the world. And there's an asterisk on the word athlete and a footnote that says, if you have a body, you're an athlete. The whole basis of innovation at Nike is the relationship we have with the athlete and the insights we get from that relationship. It's really digging deep, not only in talking to the athletes, but studying the athletes, measuring their activity, and then really just working with the athletes and digging into their personality and understanding kind of what motivates them, what drives them.
Well, I think they had more so of the player, the exact position in mind when they designed the jerseys and the actual pant, meaning it molded to whatever shapes and whatever your body bends and things of that nature. So they pretty much left no stone unturned.
All of this provides an incredibly wealthy amount of insight and information that we can then use to turn into incredibly innovative design. Well, yeah, Nike's was co-founded by Bill Bowerman, who was a coach at University of Oregon, and he was the quintessential eccentric, obsessive, fixated inventor type. As a track coach, he was totally obsessed with designing product and crafting product that could help his athletes perform better. So he really set the tone, I think, in the beginning in terms of Nike's fixation on innovation and product. We have incredibly talented designers at Nike. There's probably over 700 designers working at Nike in all design disciplines. And then we collaborate with designers outside of Nike at the same time. So we get fresh perspectives all the time. As a young designer, I was flying to work with a manufacturing partner, and I was sketching on the plane, and somebody asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a designer. I work with a company called Nike." The response of the person was, "What more can you do with shoes that hasn't already been done?" And I think about that, and I kind of laugh a bit because today I see more opportunity to innovate than I ever have before. The shoes I'm wearing are knit. They're called Flyknit shoes. It's an old craft, knitting, but we've actually modernized it and brought some new technology to it. So now we can completely change how shoes are made and actually raise the level of performance significantly at the same time. So it's a revolution, I think, not only in terms of manufacturing, but in terms of performance design. There's virtually no waste in the upper material. Sustainability in design is an incredibly core and central part to what we do. We have an ethos around sustainability. It's called considered design. So we consider the impact of every decision we make in product design. And not only in design in terms of product, but in the supply chain and everything else that we do, how we run facilities, how we run our business in general. Design not only creates the product, but actually helps to create the strategy for the company. Designers, I think, almost by definition, if they're really good and they're on their game, so to speak, are very connected to what's going on in the world. And that connection to what's happening and what could happen really needs to be a part of how we shape our strategy with the company.
Money can buy you almost anything. It can't buy you immortality. That you have to earn. I'm gonna look you in the eyes, and I'm gonna tell you the future. You were cut from your high school basketball team. You willed your way to the NBA. You're gonna win championships. It's an American story, and that's why Americans are gonna love it. People are gonna build you up. God, are they going to? Because when you're great and new We love you. Man, we'll build you into something that doesn't even exist. You're gonna change the fucking world. But you know what? Once they've built you as high as they possibly can, they're gonna tear you back down. It's the most predictable pattern. We build you into something that doesn't exist, and that means you have to try to be that thing. All day, every day. That's how it works. And we do it again, and again, and again. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. You're gonna be attacked, betrayed, exposed, and humiliated. And you'll survive that. A lot of people can climb that mountain. It's the way down that breaks them. Because that's the moment when you are truly alone. And what will you do then? Can you summon the will to fight on through all the pain and rise again? Who are you, Michael? That will be the defining question of your life. And I think you already know the answer. And that's why we're all here. A shoe is just a shoe. Until somebody steps into it. Then it has meaning. The rest of us just want a chance to touch that greatness. And we need you in these shoes, not so you have meaning in your life, but so that we have meaning in ours. Everyone at this table will be forgotten as soon as our time here is up. Except for you. You're gonna be remembered forever. Because some things are eternal. You're Michael Jordan. And your story is gonna make us want to fly.
How do we make a masterpiece better? You know, Kobe was big on always forward thinking. So he came up with this notion of Protro. And it was all around performance and, you know, performance retro, how we could always make product better.
There's that quote that says, study the past to push your game forward.
Yes.
Kobe said that when it comes to Protro, so I think that's the ethos that I feel like we're taking.
Yeah.
Study the greats and then push the edges of innovation at the same time.
I think so much of design and good design is just connecting dots and maybe connecting some dots that people don't always see or don't have the ability to see.
When you're looking at the Kobe 9 Protro, there's so many beautiful things about a shoe. We know Flyknit is lightweight, sustainable, and super supportive in the upper. So pairing that with the underfoot setup and the carbon fiber heel counter, we're actually able to kind of give you that OG feel in the upper of the Kobe 9. The medial side of the shoe, we added an extra line of traction, so when you cut on your inside foot, you don't slip there. So taking that React foam, creating a drop-in midsole, you're getting more energy efficiency, more responsiveness with the new React setup, and then the new traction on the inside. This shoe is meant to help you be at your deadliest and embrace your mama mentality.
It wasn't so much about perfection per se, it was the pursuit. You know, I can just feel Kobe pushing us in, you know, in that direction. And I think that's why, you know, the Protro is just such a beautiful concept and just captures the, you know, the essence of Kobe.
Anytime I get asked about what's the innovation I'm most excited about, my response is usually the one we haven't done yet.
Nike's the first company to create a team like the Mind Science Department. This is a really hardcore set of neuroscientists and perception and psychology researchers.
It's easy to dream, but you have to have the technology, the design, the creativity, and then the ability to scale and build these things.
We wanted to create a new icon and a new sensation, a new feel.
How do we go beyond just physical performance, but how do we tap into mental performance in a new way?
Nike Mind is a new sensory footwear concept that helps reawaken the foot, the body, and the mind.
From the early days even of Nike Free, we were trying to understand how do we not just unlock movement, but unlock sensation in the mind. If the body's the engine, the mind is the driver, and we really focused on the engine for the first 40 years. And this is a shift for us to start focusing on how do we make the driver sharper, clearer, more effective.
Nike Mind taps into priming yourself for an activity and also recovering after an intense activity.
The Mind 1 is about simplicity and ease of use. The Mind 2 is a little more versatile, everyday performance. Both are meant to create deeper awareness for athletes to help bring their focus into the moment.
And so when we designed these nodes, we were very intentional about making sure they were able to translate the information. You can't test something like this on a robot. It's always the athlete that's going to give you the feedback. Everything we do has to work for athletes.
We used everything. We used underfoot plantar pressure sensors. We used electromyography of the lower limbs. We did human EEG. We looked at their brains before, during, and after, and we saw differences in the brain activation and the oscillation patterns of the brain that were due to the sensory system wearing this shoe.
The Mind Science team guided us in where the sensation should be experienced, and then we overlaid that with our engineering practices to understand how we build it.
Being able to manufacture products where you could have floating independent nodes on the bottom of the surface that can actually compress, rotate, and translate sensory information from the ground to the foot has been a labor of love and a creative endeavor for the last several years.
I believe this is a new frontier and a new paradigm of performance. We're just scratching the surface.
I can't predict what that will look or feel like, but I'm really excited to go there and start thinking about how do we just reshape the future of what it means to be an athlete.
We're here at the LeBron James R&D lab, and it's our advanced R&D center. We opened this up in 2020. This is really the heartbeat of our innovation.
You've basically been at Nike more than 35 years, and you were brought back to fix a few missteps. How do you try to even reinvent a company that you know so well?
It can overwhelm you, anybody, if you try to go, hey, we got to fix everything all at once. But what I tried to do is go back to what is essential to Nike, and that is putting the athlete back at the center of everything that we do.
A year ago, Nike was in free fall. The company had fallen behind on innovation. It lost tens of billions in market value after a series of missteps. Nike's former CEO leaned on sneakerhead culture and lost focus on athletics. But as the company flooded the market with shoes like the Air Jordan 1, people lost interest. Nike slashed prices to get rid of excess inventory, but a year later, it's still trying to finish the job.
Your biggest franchises, Air Jordan 1, Air Force 1, and Nike Dunk. I know you've managed those franchises before, and I just wanted to hear what your plan is now and making them as cool as they were in 2022, 2023.
Yeah, we became over-reliant on the three shoes that you just referenced. I think we've done a really nice job of getting Air Force 1 back in a good inventory position. We still have work to do on the Dunk and Air Jordan 1s returning to the right level of inventory.
I do see like the Nike Dunk on sale online still.
No question, we still have work to do to clean up the Dunk.
Yeah.
We're in the process of doing that.
Analysts estimate that in fiscal 2025, Nike made $4 billion on the Nike Dunk. It's now being phased out, and Nike is trying to get rid of its remaining stock.
We're working with not only ourselves, but our wholesale partners to get that inventory out of the marketplace. Am I going to tell you it's going to be huge next year? No. Do I think the Dunk will have its moment again? No question. Is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? I can't tell you that, but there will be a moment for the Dunk again, not unlike what we're already starting to see with the Air Force 1.
Today, I just saw a bunch of products that you're about to release. How did you make them happen?
Yeah, we have a 4-in-1 jacket that will be launching come the Olympics, and then of course Project Amplify, the platform to help an athlete go further, faster, and we're really excited about the opportunities there as well.
I think the question everyone wants to know is when's the Caitlin Clark shoe gonna come out?
Well, that shoe's coming, and And we're going to continue to invest in our women's business. We've had a great response to the logo that we created for Caitlin Clark. She's been a tremendous person to work with, and we want to make certain that we have everything from her logo to the product exactly the way that she wants it before we launch it.
You've been talking about the progress the company has made in the running category. I think the space is more competitive than it ever was. Would you agree?
Well, I think there's no question that we've always had competition, and there's certainly competition in the running space. We now have a general manager for Nike Running, which I think has helped us get sharper on the product and the storytelling, but it also makes us more competitive. And so I think the alignment around the sport offense, taking our three brands, Nike, Jordan, Converse, and then segmenting the brand by sport is absolutely going to make us more competitive and help us drive revenue and certainly market share gains.
In 2019, you guys split up with Amazon, and now you're back to selling your products on Amazon. How is it different now that, 6 years ago?
It's not just about opening more distribution. Our strategy is to make certain that wherever the consumer chooses to shop for our product, that we show up in a really thoughtful way in terms of the assortment for that specific consumer, because there are different consumers that shop different retailers.
After years of focusing on its direct-to-consumer approach, Nike is once again leaning on retail partners to help boost sales.
You've gone back to other places like Macy's, DSW. Recently, the Jordan brand opened up a space inside Academy Sports. How are you making sure the premiumness of the brand is protected?
Wherever our product shows up, whether it's Nike Direct, digital or physical, wholesale, digital or physical, making certain that we have a consumer right assortment for that shopper, for that location. Elevate the presentation, drive sell-through. Try to be the most profitable brand wherever we are. And that's how we drive revenue and profit for ourselves along with our retailers. That's how we take back market share, right? There's a consumer that wants to access the Jordan brand at all price points. And the great news is the team has the product at an elevated price point and the distribution where that product shows up. And then in Academy, they have a consumer that we serve there. And it's not just about entry level, we also have cleated and other products there as well.
So the last thing I wanted to ask was about your employee base. Last year was a tough moment in Nike history. It was clear that there was some discontent among employees with the direction that the company was taking. I wanted to know how you've made an impact on that.
I think people know that I care deeply about this place, and they respect the years of experience that I have here, the knowledge that I have, not just the company, but the consumer and the overall industry, that I like to compete. I come to the office every single day ready to compete, and that we have shifted back to doing what we were created to do, and that is to serve the athlete. And it has really elevated the morale here on this campus, the focus that we have, and it's the reason why we've been able to deliver the results that we've been able to deliver over the last year. It's the team rallying, and we're just getting started.
When you look at the Nike shoe, every element of the design, every detail is considered. The form factor, the weight, the materials. The product is in constant state of evolution, and it never stops. What if you took that spirit of innovation that you find in product design and applied it to retail? How would it change our approach? What would we do differently? Nike Lab was born of these questions.
As an engineer, whenever I go to a new city, I'm always looking at things that people build and the things that people throw away. We are trying to create a closed loop system, a system where everything you use can be reused, where nothing is thrown away and everything is recyclable.
When we called Arthur, we told him that we wanted to literally reinvent not only how retail spaces are designed, but also how they're built. A big part of that is finding new materials to build with, finding ways to make them modular and more sustainable. I think that was something that Arthur was really excited to be part of.
It's about the least amount of waste, least amount of materials. Everything is held together mechanically rather than chemically adhesive.
It's not enough to make something from recycled material. It has to be beautiful and it has to perform. These retail environments display our most extraordinary and most pinnacle product. And we want to be at eye level with that product from an innovation perspective, but we all want to compete with it. And I think we've done that. This week, the first 5 Nike Lab stores are opening around the world. The things learned in these 5 stores over the next few years, they'll shape what Nike does in all its retail environments in the future.
We have been collaborating with Nike for many years. There's always this genuine respect. More than the respect, we push each other to do something crazy in a good way.
You gotta be disruptive. You can't be afraid to fail. You gotta push yourself every day. And that's what Nike Lab is all about. It's innovation by innovators.
I'm Michael Barut. I'm a graphic designer. As a designer, people come to me and they'll say, oh, I want like something like the Nike swoosh. They think that the Nike swoosh was the Nike swoosh the day it was drawn, but it was nothing the day it was drawn.
The company that birthed Nike commissioned a design student named Carolyn to draw some ideas, and the Nike founders didn't really like them.
They sort of said, oh, let's use that one.
It wasn't like an overnight success.
And then they started putting on the science of shoes. The shoes were good, and then the genius of Nike's marketing apparatus made us further associate that product not merely with performance athletic gear, but with the very idea of athletic achievement itself.
And that's how, over a long time, a little mark means something big.
That's exactly how religious symbols work. It's obviously not just anything inherent in these shapes, but it's about what those shapes have come to represent in the minds of the people who are looking at them.
12 years after the birth of that Nike logo, Nike came back to that graphic design student, Carolyn, with a gift.
A Nike ring with her own trademark on it, the swoosh.
Thank you very much, it's beautiful.
And an undisclosed amount of Nike stock.
Wow.
In 1973, when it was designed, her pay was $35.
In 2017, industry trailblazer Virgil Abloh revolutionized sneaker collaborations with his The 10 collection, which included Nike sneakers and silhouettes from Nike-owned brands Converse and Jordan. Shortly after, in 2018, several new colorways and models joined the ranks of the 10. Now, thanks to data from StockX, we're able to analyze the resale market for Virgil Abloh's Nike collaborations and track how prices have changed over time. Considered to be among the most coveted sneakers from the collaboration, the Chicago, White, and UNC Jordan 1s are also among the most expensive on the resale market. Following its release in September 2017, resale prices for the Chicago colorway started at $2,019 out of the gate. They briefly dipped to a low of $1,285 before quickly starting to rise once more. The shoe's value peaked at $2,339 in May. Referential Chicago colorways of the Air Jordan 1 are typically the most collectible among Jordan heads, and Abloh's deconstructed version, with off-white branding, was largely unprecedented considering Jumpman's history of Chicago Bulls homage releases. Next, the European exclusive White Jordan 1 landed in March 2018, and prices have been steadily rising since then, reaching $1,890 as of July. Global demand for the shoe has remained steady due to the continentally exclusive release, and the price has consistently increased as deadstock pairs become more scarce. The last of Abloh's Jordans has only been on the market for several months. Early pairs of the UNC were available starting in May for $1,020, and a month after the official June release, prices had dropped to $775. However, after looking at the trajectory of the other 2 Jordan colorways, it's very likely UNC prices could rise in months to come. Of the original 10 sneaker designs, the Presto was one of the most anticipated, after being released on Instagram by celebrities and friends of Abloh. Immediately following the release in September, $1,234 would get you a pair of the original Prestos. That price subsequently rose to a high of $1,638 in May. The going rate for a pair of Prestos as of July 2018 is $1,563. The Vapor Max was still a relatively new shoe in September 2017 when Abloh released his deconstructed version with an exaggerated tongue and air branding on the midsole. Third most expensive of the original 10 sneakers, the Vapor Max first climbed to a resale price of $1,109 before dipping over the following months, then rising again to $1,038 by July 2018. Of the first drop of sneakers to arrive in September, only the Jordan 1, Air Presto, and Air Vapor Max achieved resale prices of over $1,000. Abloh's collaboration has also brought us a series of new Air Force One sneakers, including exclusive versions alongside ComplexCon and New York's Museum of Modern Art. The complex con version first arrived in November 2017, garnering a resale price tag of $905. Since then, the shoe has more than doubled in price, and as of July 2018 was valued at $2,000. The MoMA edition Air Force One landed in January, also reaching a high of $2,000 on the resale market by June, before dipping considerably to $1,780 by July 2018. When looking at the data, one main trend arc can be identified, which applies to all of Ablo's releases. Following the official release, resale prices typically dip, then steadily climb, so if you're a collector, it's probably good to keep those on ice. To see our full breakdown, including more info on resale prices of the Off-White collaboration, head to our site.
Work in progress. Process as product. Seek imperfection. Application is the best method of testing.
There was one moment where the Jordan team were there in the room explaining the history of the shoe, and one of them mentioned that there's an airbag and he didn't believe it. So they opened it, Virgil pierced the airbag, and then that was a moment when he was like, we need to display or document this innovation on the shoe somewhere.
If there was a spark of an idea, it was like, see it out, try it out. This sort of freedom to fail that we love here, he subscribed to that as well. And if there was like one little iota of an idea and 90% of it was trash, but there was like a little bit that could be something, it was always like, go for it, try it.
His favorite means of designing was WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. You would wake up with like 43 new messages, and you would just see an idea grow over the WhatsApp, which is also kind of a new revolutionary way of designing, I guess.
Whenever we get the fire emoji from him, we all were so happy.
We would always start with this vision of what we're gonna do, and then it would go here and there and take a right turn and flip around. At some point we would just like go, okay, that's it, freeze it. I always explain to people who would join the project, if you wanna go there fast, you fly. If you want to go the fun way, you get a motorhome and you stop along the way, and working with Virgil's like stopping in every state.
Question everything. When someone in position of authority says no, keep going.
The icons were a good example, because a lot of those shoes had been made in different versions, but I don't think they had never been deconstructed and reconstructed in a way that we did with that collection.
A refusal to back down. I'm going to make 1,000 logos. I'm going to design something this way.
And this idea of like pushing the factories, like, no, we can do this. Like, let's say yes more often.
Yes, we're going to expose this foam. It's going to yellow over time, which would be considered undesirable.
You say that this is a hiking shoe, I say it's a skating shoe. You say this is a skating shoe, I played basketball in it.
So I think his effect on fashion is these houses have to look at people that haven't come from these institutions now, because he proved that you don't have to be great. So I think that's the biggest change he probably had on it, just to open up the market of where genius might come from.
Signature. Once you've put in the work to define your perspective, you can apply it to any medium.
You know, there are people that you meet every once in a while that feel like they're from another world.
His design is always new and fresh, never been the same.
There was no detail left out. You could tell like everything was intentional.
We thought it was funny to just proliferate logos, like to say that like the graphic identity is 100 logos and we don't know which one we're going to use. V's like first introduction in a lot of ways to the public as a footwear designer was him like really kind of annihilating these icons in a lot of ways, right? Writing on them, shooting videos of people skating in them.
He understood what it was to create something that was going to capture the highest element of design and at the same time like get the streets going. Like he really understood from top to bottom what was going to stir a bunch of controversy, also be really amazing in terms of design.
He would come in and just crush with a different point of view or a different angle. To me, were the most truthful and polarizing that will stand the test of time because they're really 100% Virgil.
Nike Lab is a really unique place where we get to take the best of anything and everything that comes from Nike, and we get to put it into a completely different context. It's about thinking in a completely different way, and a lot of the innovators and partners that we work with embody that spirit. The goal of working on any collaboration is to learn, and I think if we're not learning, then we're working with the wrong people. Combining Errolson's expertise with our materials and understanding of the body in motion, when those two worlds collide, really interesting things happen.
We always view technology really as a function of quality. So high tech for its own sake is basically decoration. It only makes sense to use the technology if you're actually, creating a tangible benefit.
There's a reason why ACG looks the way it does. The aesthetic is born out of its performance and its innovation.
ACG is super interesting because it is the chance to execute apparel at a level that I think is valid. Again, of marrying the cultural and the technological together, but in a way that you can actually get it on the street. The ability to reach more people with the same level of design and quality in the build is something that I think only Nike could really bring to the table right now.
Before we put pen to paper, we're listening to the voice of the athlete to make sure that we make product that's helping you whether you're on the pitch or on the street. ACG is about the city, it's about solving problems for the city.
It's easy to focus on the functionality of it, but it doesn't work if the aesthetic aspect isn't there as well. Achieving a balance or refusing to compromise on both sides, that's actually the trick. And that means you have to learn two disciplines, basically. So you must understand the artistic side and the aesthetics, the cultural aspect, but then also the engineering, basically the physics of the product. But when that happens, it's magic.